These are some of the strongest characters in fiction. They are feared and respected in their wars, performing feat after feat, they prove their invincibility. Or so it seems. You probably won't believe what I'm about to say, but all of these characters share something in common. They suffer from mental health struggles. It might sound absurd or like a reach, but by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what I mean. When we think about strength, we often imagine a massive man with enormous arms wielding a sword the size of a human. And while by simple and plain definition this image isn't entirely wrong, since strength does refer to physical power, it's only partially true. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, strength does not come from physical capacity, it comes from an indomitable will. And with this idea, I want to expand how we understand strength. Because this character's physical power is only the tip of the iceberg. Hidden beneath the armor, beneath the muscle and feet, lies the mind. And with it, mental health, the powerful strength we rarely see, but that defines everything else. So if strength isn't just physical power, then what it is really? Strength in these stories is not about domination or invincibility. It's about endurance, about continuing to move forward while carrying grief, guilt, trauma, and regret. These characters are not strong because they are unbroken. They are strong because they keep going despite being broken. And this is where the contradiction begins. Because the same traits that make them legendary, violence, emotional repression, isolation, are often the very things that destroy them from the inside. To understand this, we need to look closer not at their feats, but at their fractures. Kratos is a god, a warrior feared by mortals, monsters, and even other gods. His strength is overwhelming. He defeats beings that represent war, death, fate itself. On the surface, he embodies pure power, but Kratos is not driven by confidence, he is driven by guilt. The death of his wife and daughter defines him more than any victory ever could. Every act of violence is not just a battle, it's an attempt to drown out memory. Kratos does not heal, he suppresses. His rage is not strength, it's armor, and like all armor, it protects him while slowly crushing what's underneath. In the newer God of War games, this becomes painfully clear. Kratos is quieter, restrained, afraid, not of enemies, but of himself. His greatest fear is not dying, it's becoming the man he once was, and that fear is deeply human. Guts from Berserk is often described as one of the strongest characters in anime and manga. He wields a sword no normal human could lift. He fights demons, apostles, creatures born from nightmares. But Guts is not strong because he wants to be. He is strong because weakness was never an option. From birth, Guts is surrounded by death, abuse, betrayal, loss. His life is a chain of trauma, with no pause in between. His strength is not heroic, it is defensive. Every swing of his sword is an act of survival. Every step forward is fueled by anger, not hope. Guts doesn't fight because he believes in something. He fights because stopping will mean being consumed by everything he's been through. And this is where depression reveals itself, not as sadness, but as exhaustion, as numbness, as an inability to imagine a future that isn't defined by pain. Guts is strong, but his strength is a response to suffering, not a solution to it. Joel from The Last of Us doesn't look like a god or a warrior king, but in his world, he's terrifying. He survives, he adapts, he does whatever is necessary, and that's the problem. Joel's strength comes from an emotional shutdown. After losing his daughter, he's closing himself off completely, not just from pain, but from connection. He doesn't perceive grief, he buries it, and the world rewards him for that. In a brutal environment, empathy is a liability, violence is efficient, attachment is dangerous. Joel becomes strong by becoming less human. But when Ellie enters his life, the cracks begins to show. His suppressed trauma resurfaces, not as vulnerability, but as control. Joel's final choice is often debated as love or selfishness, but it's also fear. Fear of loss, fear of reliving pain, fear of facing grief again. Joel is strong enough to destroy the world for someone he loves, but not strong enough to let go. At this point, pattern becomes clear. These characters are not written as strong despite their pain, they are written as strong because of it. Suffering sharpens them, trauma hardens them, and loss fuels them. But it never heals them. This reflects something deeply real. In many cultures, and especially in stories about warriors, men, or heroes, emotional repression is framed as maturity, silence is framed as control, and endurance is framed as virtue. Pain is something to carry, not something to address. And so these characters become symbols of strength, while quietly deteriorating. And what I mean by this is that in return of all of their suffering, they are respected, feared, relied upon, but rarely, very rarely understood. Their pain is invisible because it's useful after all. As long as they can fight, survive, protect, or kill, their suffering is at best tolerated or ignored entirely. They are praised for their resilience and never asked if they're okay, and when they finally break, the world is shocked. And when we think about it, these characters resonate with us because they reflect something uncomfortable. That strength, as we often define it, is unsustainable. That ignoring mental health doesn't make pain disappear, it just changes how it manifests. Rage, isolation, self-destruction, and emotional numbness. These are not signs of weakness, they are symptoms of untreated suffering. And fiction, at its best, shows us this truth without preaching. So again, when we look at these characters, Kratos, Gus, Joel, we see them differently. Not as invincible figures, but as deeply wounded people who learned to survive in the only ways they knew how. Their stories ask an important question. If strength means enduring endless pain in silence, then what does healing look like? Maybe real strength isn't how much you can carry, but knowing when to stop carrying it alone. And maybe the strongest characters in fiction aren't the ones who never break, but the ones who keep going, even when they already have. If you've watched through the end, then thank you very much, and consider subscribing, leaving a like, and a comment. See ya.